video series on using National Geographic Mapmaker Interactive. In this video, we review Basemaps. These videos were made possible by AmericaView, Virginia View, the Virginia Cooperative Extension, Colorado Mesa University, and Virginia Tech.
Funding for this project was provided by the United States Geological Survey under grant number G14AP00002. The contents of this video and the related written tutorial are solely the responsibility of the authors and do not represent the official views of the U.S. Geological Survey. Mention of trade names or commercial products does not constitute their endorsement by the United States government. This video series accompanies Chapter 1 in a written tutorial titled Exploring Our Planet with Open Source Software. You can find the written tutorial at virginiaview.cnre.vt.edu/education or at americaview.org/exploringourplanet.
When you first enter into National Geographic Mapmaker Interactive, you see this screen, a welcome dialog box. For the purposes of this specific video, please click on the X in the upper right-hand corner of the welcome dialog box and close it. Once closed, you will see this screen. This screen already has a base map. It is the default. But let's look at the additional base maps available. By clicking on the right side of the screen, you will see the tab Basemaps. Click on this tab. You will see a screen that shows the different base maps available. Within this video, we will review each one of these. Once you've clicked on that tab, you will see a screen that shows the different base maps available. Here we will review each one individually. This is the default. It's the National Geographic map. It appears this map only shows some general land cover and country names. But let's zoom into location. Instead of using the zoom button as covered in a previous video, in the upper right-hand corner, enter Washington, D.C. into the Location tab. Did your screen not change? Remember from a prior video, once you type in the location, you have to hit the Enter button on your keyboard. As you can see with the National Geographic maps, you have more detail as you zoom in to a specific location. Now let's choose a different base map. This time, choose gray. This is just a grayscale of the outline of countries with the ocean showing a darker gray. Again, let's zoom in to Washington, D.C. as a location. You can see more detail, but again, with this base map, it will always just be grayscale. Now let's click on terrain. Don't worry, we'll go back to ocean later. As you can see at this small scale, worldwide, you don't see a lot of detail. So, let's type in Washington, D.C. again. Don't forget to hit the Enter button after typing in Washington, D.C. You do see a lot more detail. It's showing some elevation changes. Now, with Washington, D.C. doesn't really have a lot of relief differences, so let's try a different location. This time, type in Denver, Colorado. Again, push the Enter button after you've typed it in. You can see why Colorado has a front range on the eastern side of Denver, those areas to the east with little relief, and west of Denver, which is actually where we find the Western Continental Divide. The terrain base map is an excellent tool for comparing terrain differences across the United States, at a local, regional level, or even in different parts of the world. Now let's look at the next base map. The next one we're looking at is streets. Again, at worldwide extent, it shows very little detail. This time we put Denver, Colorado into the location. We see the entire state. We actually see states surrounding Colorado. You've got more detail. Mainly at this extent, you're seeing interstate highways and in some instances some U.S. highways. We just zoomed in using our mouse wheel or the plus button as covered in a prior video. You can see you've got a little bit more detail. You're seeing some major roads within the Denver area, and actually you see the Denver International Airport in the upper right hand side in this northeast. As we zoom in again, you can see, as with some other base maps, you get more and more detail the larger scale you get as you zoom in. And even more detail as you're zooming in. Did you guys notice? I changed this from Denver, Colorado to Washington, D.C. Again, streets is an excellent source for doing comparisons, larger versus small scale, or even differences in city sizes and layouts of cities. Now let's look at the base map for satellites. This is satellite imagery, and actually our satellite imagery for this particular one actually shows the land surface of the Earth as viewed from space. Let's add Washington, D.C. to the location this time. You do see more detail. You can also see the Chesapeake Bay just to the east and south of Washington, D.C. And again, more detail as you zoom in. This is still Washington, D.C., and we can see the Potomac River. You can actually see some very good detail from satellite imagery. Can you tell that this is the same zoomed in extent as what we saw on the last screen for streets? This is an excellent way to ask students about the layout of Washington, D.C. or other cities. But do you remember what the layout of Washington, D.C. specifically is? Remember, everything centers on the Capitol building. And you can see from the street layouts how all those streets move into the Capitol. Now let's talk about topo maps. Yes, these are actually topographic maps from the U.S. Geological Survey. Topo maps within National Geographic Mapmaker Interactive provide the same level of detail you would actually find in a U.S. Geological Survey topographic map. Here's a topographic map of Denver, Colorado. Much different looking than the map of Washington, D.C., and actually you could compare this map to the terrain differences that we saw earlier. Very good way to do comparisons and explanations for students on differences across the world. Now let's go back to the one that we skipped, ocean base map. We saved this for last because up to this point we've been looking at the land surface area of the Earth. For example, let's put in Denver, Colorado. What happens with an ocean map? Well, you get no information, and it specifically says map data not yet available. Not surprising, we're looking in the middle of the continent, Denver, Colorado. But if we put in Washington, D.C., Washington, D.C. is close enough to the ocean, but also because of the Chesapeake Bay, you get more detail. And you also get more detail if you look specifically at the oceans. In this instance, we're off the western coast of the United States. You can see fracture zone and other details related to the ocean bottom. Let's look at one more area as far as oceans are concerned. So this is off the western coast of South America. Again, this base map is an excellent tool for comparing different locations on the Earth, specifically ocean locations, but more importantly, this base map can be used in a physical geography class when discussed. As with other characteristics of National Geographic Mapmaker Interactive, a video help on using base maps is available. Although the built-in help video does not cover as much base map detail as what we have in this video. This concludes the review of Basemaps in National Geographic Mapmaker Interactive. If you have any questions with regards to this video or the accompanying written tutorial, please contact Dr. Tammy Parise at Colorado Mesa University or Dr. James Campbell at Virginia Tech. The email addresses are shown on the screen.